Always be sure before you cook any meal to wash your hands thoroughly and properly according to the guidelines of the CDC and the WHO. Wouldn't want any germs to be going into our food now, would we?
No, we wouldn't. We sure wouldn't.
No, indeed. Should be at least 20 seconds. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Happy birthday twice.
Happy birthday twice, or an Our Father once slowly, something like that.
Happy birthday to you.
So today we are going to be making a kind of simplified version of a Passover meal. We are having three particular, what do you call it?
Components?
Components, thank you. First, we have our flour to be making unleavened bread. We have inside here our lamb, and we have here our bitter herbs, mustard greens.
The lamb is what we got. We're just 2 lamb chops, and I've marinated them overnight in a saltwater brine with also a few red pepper seeds for taste. Can you tell them what goes into the bread?
Bread is very simple. All you do is you take a little bit of flour. We don't really believe in measuring. You just kind of eyeball it. And then you need a little bit of water. And if you want to put a little salt in, that's optional, but you can do that.
Okay. The lamb we're gonna rinse, dry, and roast, and we're gonna keep it very far away from.
All right, so for the bread, we're gonna add a little bit of kosher salt just to give it a little bit of flavor, not too much, a little bit of seasoning. And then we're gonna add in some water. Not too much water, otherwise you're gonna have to add a bunch more flour. And then you start mixing. And you can add a little bit more flour or a little bit more water as you need to.
To get the lamb going, I've got the chops that were marinated. They're drying off in a strainer, and I will finish drying them with paper towel. But what we're going to do for the roasting, in order to help with the color, we're going to go ahead and put the empty baking dish into an oven that's been preheated to 400 degrees and let that get hot before we put our lamb in it. Nick, how's the bread coming?
It's coming along. Want to
Okay.
get one nice big ball of dough.
Do you need this?
Do
Is
I
there
need-
any kneading?
There will be a little bit, not too much, mostly just to make sure that the water and the flour is evenly dispersed. We'll put a little flour on the table, a little flour on the fingers, not too much. Just kind of move it around, make sure that the flour gets in so it's not too sticky. We'll just do this for a few minutes until the dough is nice and smooth.
So I've gone ahead and bumped our oven up to 450, and I've put a little bit of olive oil and garlic in the pan. And so now that this is nice and hot, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna sear the chops for about 8 minutes on each side to work on their color, uncovered, of course. We'll flip those in a little bit, and then we'll cover them and turn the heat back down and let them finish for another 15-20 minutes.
All right, so I'm gonna put a little bit of flour on my fingers, just so I don't get too sticky. I've got a nice little ball of dough here. I'm gonna divide it up into a couple smaller pieces, depending upon how much you have. Probably, I think I'll do 3 pieces with this one. It's probably gonna be a little sticky in the middle, that's okay. Just put a little flour on your fingers. Try not to put the flour, dump the flour onto the bread, just kind of keep it on your fingers. Make a nice little round ball with each one, and then I'll use the rolling pin to flatten them out. All right, so I'm gonna take my rolling pin, I'm gonna put a little flour on my rolling pin so it doesn't stick to that too much. Nice and dusty. Flatten out my unleavened bread. Start stretching it out.
About how thin do you want it?
It's kind of up to you. How thick you want your bread to be, and if you want to have a kind of a thinner, more crunchy consistency, you make it a little bit more thin. If you like a more doughy type of bread, you can make it a little bit thicker. Awesome. So now I'm going to take my dough, kind of peel it off. Always got to make sure your surface is floured enough so it doesn't get too sticky. So now I've got kind of a little bit of a tortilla here, and I've got some pans on the stove that I've been heating for a little bit. Kind of want it to be pretty warm when you set it on the stove. I don't really think you need to put any oil on it. You just kind of set it there.
What kind of heat?
What kind of heat?
Yes.
Medium heat.
So it's been about 8 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and check on these guys. And, yeah, give them a little flip. And they're a little thick, so I'm going to go ahead and jack up the temperature to 500 for a little bit. And when we get done with this next round, we'll cover it and lower that back down so they can roast.
Because the secret of good cooking is not just following a recipe exactly, but looking at what you've got and making judgments about what you need to do.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and flip this first one over here. Got a couple little nice brown spots.
So we could do for a few more of those.
Yeah. This one is going to need a few more minutes. All right, so I think our unleavened bread is good to go. Time for a taste. Doesn't have a whole lot of flavor.
So when I go to cover the lamb and roast it for the next bit on a lower temperature, I'm going to go ahead and have this rosemary chopped up to sprinkle on top. And this is going to be a flavor we're going to seal in. Lamb with bitter herbs is kind of a tradition. It works in a culinary way, but it also connects with the tradition of the Jewish people's Passover meal, where they have the unleavened bread, the roasted lamb, and the bitter herbs. So we're going to go ahead and check on this guy. We're going to call that seared. It's got some flavors going, some juice going, some color going. So we're going to go ahead and put that rosemary right on top. Like so, and then we're going to carefully cover so as to not get burnt. Ouch, ouch, ouch. And that will lock in some moisture, which we're going to need. We're going to pop her back in there. Lower that temp and set a timer for about 18 minutes and check on it. So while we wait for the lamb to finish roasting, I thought we'd have a little appetizer here. I'm going to talk about our Jewish roots as Catholic Christians, the importance of Holy Week, how that connects to Passover, and maybe also the importance of cooking.
So first of all, James made a delicious little dip here using minced garlic, olive oil, and cumin, which we are using to dip the bread. Actually works out really nice.
Cheers.
Cheers. Along with the mustard greens, which remind all of us and the ancient Israelites of the bitterness of their time of slavery while they were in Egypt. The thing that's fascinating about unleavened bread is that God told the Israelites to eat the Passover in a hurry. They were to eat it like people who were in flight. And people who are in a hurry don't have time to wait for the bread to rise. And so instead of making regular bread with leaven that would take a couple of hours to make, they made unleavened bread, which you could make easily within 10 minutes.
Like we just did. Yeah, I think this all connects, of course, to us as Christians because Jesus' Last Supper with his disciples was a Passover meal that he then gave new meaning to by transforming the bread and the wine into his own body and blood. But I think it's important beyond just the idea that Jesus takes Passover in our Jewish traditions and gives them a new Christian meaning. I think it's important that to recognize that God went ahead and chose to come to us in a manner that we all understand, which is food and a meal. And that's not something that we all get to come together for as a community right now. We can't all come together for Mass, to receive Christ in the Eucharist, to pray together. But we can still cook within our homes. We can do FaceTime feasts with friends and family. And I think that cooking is something that probably has brought a lot of us together this year on staff. I think it's something that brings our house together. Would you not agree?
I've been making all sorts of recipes and new dishes that I've never tried before.
So we roasted it on a lower temperature for about 20 minutes covered, and then I went ahead and took it out. I took its temperature, and it was up to temp, about 173 degrees. So then I let it sit, and I let the meat rest, and now it's ready to serve and eat alongside the bread and the herbs. So we hope that you have a great Holy Week where you connect with some of our Jewish roots, you connect with the story of Jesus and the Last Supper, all the way to the resurrection. Nick, do you have anything you want to add?
Happy Holy Week, everyone. Be safe in the kitchen.